What's going on, YouTube? It's Dylan here again today, and instead of doing a review of another pay-per-view, I thought today I would actually go over some things that are going on in the news of WWE the last few weeks. The first one, I actually want to issue a congratulations to current one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Kairi Sane. She announced that on February 22nd, her and her fiance got married. So I do want to issue that congratulations out. Uh, Next, I want to mention that about two debuts happening at a NXT event recently. The first one is, I may butcher this name, so bear with me, is Okala Anzulis. She is most known for winning The Rock's Titan Games, as well as NXT debuted their first female African American full-time referee, who is a former competitor in the Shimmer promotion, Aja Pereira. So congratulations to both of them. Third, a new signing with WWE, who is a former Diana champion and former Diana Tag Team champion. I'm not sure about that promotion. This is the first time I've heard of this promotion. Sari, she is signed with WWE, so hopefully she gets used correctly. Just a little bit of thing. The Detroit Pistons had their WWE night at their last home game, and Cesaro had a stare down with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, and Robin Lopez, which I actually thought was pretty cool. I went and watched a clip of it. I thought that was pretty cool. I still don't know why WWE isn't using Cesaro as a main event guy. He obviously can pull it off. He's got the in-ring skills, and he's also got charisma. I don't understand it. Here's another one. The Rock's 18-year-old daughter, a couple weeks ago, signed a WWE contract to start training at the Performance Center to become the first ever fourth-generation superstar in WWE history. Let's hope she does well, and let's hope that she can get used correctly, because we know that there's been many times where WWE just hasn't been able to use superstars that are second, third generation like they could have been used. For example, there's Curtis Axel, Mr. Perfect's son. He's a great in-ring talent. He's pretty good on the mic. Could have used improvement, yes. But it's just, for some reason, they couldn't use him correctly. His best run was, some people would say the Axelmania thing, and others would say his run as a tag team partner with Bo Dallas, who's another, I believe, second or third generation superstar. If I'm correctly, let me actually pull this up, because I do not want to screw up my information here. But I know he's definitely in the Rotundo family. I mean, anybody who's actually read about it knows that his brother is actually Bray Wyatt, believe it or not. So he is a third-generation superstar. The people in the family, Mike Rotunda, which is, some WWE fans may know him as IRS. His grandfather's Blackjack Mulligan. And like I said, Bray Wyatt's his brother, and then Barry and Kendall Windham are his uncles. So there's that. There was, I'm sure there's others, if I can remember. Sim Snook, if you remember back in the early 2000s, a tag team by the name of Deuce and Domino. Sim Snuka was one half of that team. They didn't use him right. The most memorable thing he did was a spot at WrestleMania 20. Trying to remember which WrestleMania. It was Undertaker, and I think it was WrestleMania 25. Undertaker goes for that suicide dive off the top rope. The cameraman gets pulled in the way. Undertaker hits the cameraman. That cameraman was Sim Snuka. Some of these things come and go, so. But just a lot of second, third generation superstars WWE hasn't always gotten right, and they end up going to another promotion in the independents or into another country and end up doing it right. So let's just hope they can get this right with The Rock's daughter. New WWE Network stuff coming up. I want to make a comment on the Ruthless Aggression Era series, which is, kind of taking off where the Monday Night War series on the network left off. The first 2 episodes so far have been good. The first one was just kind of an introduction into the Ruthless Aggression Era and how it came to be. And then the second episode was basically talking about John Cena's rise as one of the top guys of the Ruthless Aggression Era, which he was. Both great episodes so far. I'm looking forward to what they cover the rest of the series. There's going to be a new original story talking about Florida Championship Wrestling, which was WWE's developmental before NXT as we know it now, which at the time NXT was almost like a competition reality show with guys and girls that were in FCW back in the day. I'm looking forward to that because I don't know much about FCW, and I'd love to see more of it. The Broken Skull sessions. I don't know if this is premiered yet, but if it hasn't, the Big Show is going to be Stone Cold's next guest on the Broken Skull sessions. I'm looking forward to that. And another big piece of news. I think it was late last month, maybe early this month. WWE announced that next year's WrestleMania is going to LA. Cool. They haven't really. I don't think they've done a WrestleMania in LA since WrestleMania 21 back in 2005. My thing is, finally they're getting out of going to that New Orleans, New Jersey, New York, Florida loop that they've been doing for the past few years. But there is a certain city I would like to see them in. That's Las Vegas, because that hasn't been done since WrestleMania 9. And with the T-Mobile Arena there, with the Raiders Stadium being built there, because they're moving the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas, I think that'd be awesome. And then you have the NXT takeover either in the same stadium. If they were to do that WrestleMania Las Vegas at the Raiders Stadium, and they don't want to do the NXT takeover there's 2 other choices they could do with the T-Mobile Arena, or if they want something smaller, the Thomas and Mack Center over at UNLV. It could easily work. Some of the matches at the Super Showdown show in Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not for them going to Saudi Arabia. I don't like the idea of it. I'm not going to get into the political stuff about it. It's just, if you don't like the idea of it as well, then you probably know why. Bayley and Naomi for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Hopefully it'll be a good match. I am pulling for Bayley with this heel turn she's made. I really hope it works out and she doesn't become another heel that's trying their best to be a heel and to be hated and get cheered by the fans, though. Because which it looks like that's what's happening. But hopefully she's able to do something that can maybe just make those fans really hate her as a heel. Because I love that old dynamic of heels being heels, being booed, and the babyface being the babyface and getting cheered. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen anymore. It worked for Stone Cold because even though he was the babyface, he wasn't really a heel either. He did babyface and heelish stuff. It was an anti-hero, basically. That works. Ric Flair was able to pull off being a freaking heel and still get cheered sometimes. But I don't feel that dynamic anymore in professional wrestling, not just WWE, but all professional wrestling, of heels being heels and getting booed and babyfaces being babyfaces and getting cheered. And I kind of miss that. When you see the babyfaces getting booed when they're trying to be a babyface, and other people that have been in the business have said this, it makes it harder on how to work a match where it's heel versus babyface. It makes it so much difficult to read the crowd if they're cheering the babyface and booing the heel. But hopefully this new heel turn with Bayley can go over as a heel character. Naomi, I'm glad she's back from an injury. I think her last run with the championship was underwhelming. They didn't really do much with her. The push seemed half-assed. Let's just hope if they do give her another run with the title, now that she's back from injury, they make it a proper run. That's what I'm hoping for. I do hope that they do have Naomi go over and win this match and win the title and give her a good run for WrestleMania. Another big match that's been announced is Goldberg versus The Fiend. And if I've read correctly, this is going to be for the Universal title. A lot of fans that have watched recent years remember Goldberg's last run with the title. It was right when Kevin Owens had the title, Goldberg takes it from him quickly, and leading into the WrestleMania that year where it was Goldberg and Brock having their big WrestleMania rematch for the title, and I love Goldberg, always have been a fan of Goldberg, but guys like him, Lesnar, guys like that are coming in part-time, you don't need to put the title on them. They don't need it. It's not necessary. They're a box office attraction now. For nostalgia, and at least Goldberg has better ring work than Lesnar. That's for sure. Some people may not see it. Some people may only see the certain few moves. But if you watch those matches where Goldberg has gone, anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, he can work. He's a tremendous striker, and he's such a hoss. He is such a hoss. He's such a powerhouse, and he's almost like a tank engine when it comes to speed, power, agility, and also the striking ability. But with this and the Fiend character, I feel like is starting to flop a little bit, and which, in my opinion, started with the Hell in a Cell match between the Fiend and Seth Rollins, which was just a complete dumpster fire. And if you didn't see it, for one, the cell was red. They painted it like blood red, which, okay, I get it. You want it to look new. You want to spice up an old concept and make it look a little more contemporary. Fine. But when you're going to paint the cell red, you don't need this darker red lighting throughout the entire match where you can barely see the cell. And then the Hell in a Cell. It was the second year in a row they did it. There's supposed to be no disqualifications. And it's only supposed to stop via pinfall or submission. There's a disqualification. What the hell? That screwed it. That was the beginning of the fall for the Fiend character, and they're trying to pick it back up. I can see, but if they don't really light a fire under the ass of this character, it's not going to go anywhere. Just like every time Bray Wyatt's tried to reinvent himself, it's going to fall flat on its ass. There's my point on that. Another one, Brock Lesnar defending the WWE title against Ricochet. Let's hope it's not like the match Brock had against Rey Mysterio at Survivor Series. Let's hope it's an actual match, competitive. I love watching Ricochet work. And he can sell. He's got great facials and everything like that. But I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those very short matches. Either it's going to be short like the one he had against Mysterio was at Survivor Series, or it's going to be really short like when he won the title from Kofi Kingston, and it's going to end within 10 seconds, which is really going to piss a lot of people off. But the problem is, if it does go to like a 10, 15, 20-minute match, to still make it a good match, Brock is going to have to actually work like he did back when he first got into WWE in the early 2000s. Actually have a more extensive move set, use more than just German suplexes and F5s and all that stuff. Because right now, even in the longer matches, he uses the same 2, 3, 4 moves repeatedly. Which is German suplexes, clotheslines, punches, and the F5. That's pretty much it. What happened to the Brock Lesnar that could actually do a shooting star press? Or, who would use more varied, who would actually try to work submissions sometimes and stuff like that. Let's see, what do I have left to talk about? Oh, my last point in the video. Here's where I started getting really pissed. The WWE has announced that the Bella Twins are going into the Hall of Fame. See, this is the kind of thing that proves Scott Steiner's point. The WWE Hall of Fame is nothing but a bunch of BS. There are people who believe him, and there's a lot of people out there who believe that it's not a real Hall of Fame because there's no Hall of Fame for fans to visit, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just a bunch of BS. This is starting to lean towards that point because the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins. Okay, let me run through this. Well, let's see. They were on TV before they even got into WWE, before they even started. I can't remember the name of the show. I don't remember the name of the show, but it was on TV. 2000, and then I think it was 1 or 2 years later, they were in the 2006 WWE Diva Search. Now, that was when WWE was looking at women as eye candy. They were looking for models. They weren't really looking for women who wanted to just get in the ring and work. They wanted models. They wanted eye candy. They wanted T&A. Not TNA, the wrestling company. T&A. You'll know what that means. If you don't, look it up. I'm trying to keep this channel as family friendly as I possibly can without going overboard with family friendly. But when you look at the Diva Search, how many women that came out of that actually could work in the ring, work on the mic, and do it well enough to where they could really have a good run? A few come to mind. Layla. It took a little bit, but she started getting really good working in the ring and on the mic. It took about a year and a half, in my opinion. Michelle McCool, same thing. Took a little bit, but eventually she became one of the best women's wrestlers there is. And not to mention she ended up marrying The Undertaker. Ashley Massaro, may she rest in peace. Once again, it took some time for her, but by the time she entered her WWE career, she was pretty damn good in the ring and on the mic, and she had a unique look. She had a unique look you don't see often. Very few women had that look before her. The main one was Lita. Now, there's probably some others. Some people may argue Maria Kanellis. I never really liked her work in the ring. I don't like her work on the mic. I love watching her husband, Mike Kanellis, work because he's fantastic. She is better as a manager than a wrestler. That's my opinion. Who else won that stupid contest? I can't remember. Oh, Christy Hemme. Flash in the pan. Who else? Wasn't really any others. Then, of course, and the Bellas didn't even win the thing. Obviously, they weren't good enough. But also think about how many women's wrestlers really deserve that Hall of Fame spot. Luna Vachon, may she rest in peace. Some people have been saying Milena, but the problem is she's still working. She works for the National Wrestling Alliance, doing very well, might I add, in an alliance with Thunder Rosa and Marty Bell. By the way, let me sneak this in there. If you haven't watched NWA Power on YouTube yet, please go watch it. It's a fantastic show, and it goes live every Tuesday at 6:05. What others? Victoria. Tremendous in-ring talent. Some have been saying Gail Kim, but the problem with this, Gail Kim burned her bridges with WWE. When she basically walked out of the company, the last time she was there, she walked out. Which, understandable. She did it because of how women were looked at the time. They were only getting 5-minute matches, pretty much. And she and everybody else knew she was way too good to be used like that. Who else? Molly Holly, I don't know if she's in. I don't remember if she's in yet, but if she isn't, she definitely deserves to, because she's one of the great women's champions. And another one that comes to mind that people are basically saying no, she doesn't deserve it is Jazz. If you never watched Jazz wrestle and you had the WWE Network, go watch it. She is a powerhouse. Yeah, because she was built very strong, and I think she's one of the very few African American women to hold the WWE Women's title. As a matter of fact, I think at the time she was only the second, because the first was Jackie Moore. But she was also, she was just so powerful. She had great ring work. And she also even spent some time in ECW working with men. which was awesome. She's also a former NWA Women's Champion. She does deserve to go in. Another one that went in as a part of DX, and that's Chyna. May she rest in peace. Chyna, say what you will about her. I've heard people talk good and bad about her. Say what you will about what she decided to do after her wrestling career and all that stuff, and, the drugs, alcohol. I still, if you can't have respect, if you can't like her because of what she did after the wrestling career, at least have some respect for the dead and the path she blazed for women in the wrestling business. The first woman being the King of the Ring tournament, the first woman to win the Intercontinental title, the first woman to ever challenge for the WWE title, if I remember correctly, or she was close to it, if not the first, and the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble match. Right there. And she's the only woman to win the Intercontinental title, by the way. But along with that, she's also the only woman to win a men's title and a women's title. She works so well. She definitely deserves her own spot. There's a lot of women that deserve a spot ahead of the freaking Bella Twins, who, I'm sorry, but this is true. You can look this up. And a lot of people agree with me. The only reason they got to the spot where they got to in the WWE is because, well, for one of them at the time, but is because Brie was dating and eventually married and had children with Daniel Bryan. That is common knowledge. And because at the time, Nikki was dating the top guy in the company, the number one guy, other than the McMahon family, and that's John Cena. That's why they got where they were. And AJ Lee, even though it was a promo on TV, said it best. Talent is not sexually transmitted. So in my opinion, the Bellas, do they deserve a spot? Maybe eventually. But right now, when there's so many women that deserve to go in first, no, they do not deserve that spot. I think it's stupid. I think the shows Total Divas and Total Bellas are stupid. Disagree with me if you want to. It's my personal opinion on that. I think those shows are stupid. Matter of fact, let me throw in that show Miz and Mrs. That's stupid too. I don't like the Miz no way. I love watching him work in the ring, but I don't like him. I think WWE, professional wrestling, needs to stay out of reality television like that. Legends House on the network, that was cool. That there are other shows, Ride Alongs, which I love, Swerve, which I loved, and all that stuff. That's fine. But when you give them these normal reality television shows that don't really base themselves around the business, and it's stupid. I mean, that's the thing with the Bellas. They were TV first. And it looks like they tried to, and from what I can see, they used WWE the way Sable back in the 90s used WWE. And that was to become a television star. Sable back then she could care less about professional wrestling. The only reason she even got in the business was her husband at the time, Mark Marrow, who could work, who could talk the mic and was a fantastic performer, and because of her, his career was flushed, pretty much. Because the fans cared more about her two big fake assets, if you catch my drift, than they did about Marrow. And also because Vince McMahon and then eventually Vince Russo, who Jim Cornette has coined the Archbishop of Talent Bearing, screw you, Russo, were fascinated about this statuesque blonde with fake lips, and fake breasts, and all this garbage that looks like a freaking piece of plastic. Than they were with women like Sunny. Sunny, she wasn't interested in being a wrestler, but she was a damn good manager, and she could talk, and she was a talent at what she did. But they preferred Sable, who couldn't work because she was scared to get, when she tried to work, they had to work light with her because she was scared to get hurt in wrestling. Scared to get hurt. Are you kidding me? Secondly, she could, oh God, stupid voice. I don't know how her current husband Brock Lesnar even lives with that. That nasally, just monotone voice. She couldn't work a mic. She had no rhythm. She sucks. She doesn't. She did back then. And so it seems like the Bellas are trying to take that way. Sable only used WWE to get to television and Playboy and all this other stuff. The Bellas, they used WWE to become television stars. Now, maybe did they become some halfway decent workers in the ring? Maybe. If you can count 5-minute matches, they didn't really work in the era that we have now with women's wrestling, where these women are going working 15, 20, 25, 30, sometimes 45 minutes to an hour out there, all the time. So you really can't say they're great workers. For when they started, okay, they were pretty halfway decent, but compared to now and compared to the great women's wrestlers that came before them, Trish, Lita, Victoria, Beth Phoenix, Luna, Jacqueline, Ivory, for God's sakes. They're garbage in the ring and garbage on the mic. I know Tori Wilson went in, but she was a better worker by the end of her career than the Bellas were. If Stacy Keibler goes in, she was better on the mic, and she could work the mic. She was a good manager, not the strongest wrestler, but very good as a manager. And it seems like, and like I said, this is just pushing on the fact that the WWE Hall of Fame isn't a real Hall of Fame. Not only because there's no place where fans can actually go and see who's in it without having to get the WWE Network and watch every Hall of Fame ceremony, because not every Hall of Fame ceremony is archived and whatnot. But a real Hall of Fame, you do have to have a place where fans can go and see who's in it. Now, somebody at WWE sees this, I suggest you do that. You are a multi-billion-dollar company, publicly traded. You have the money to build an actual building for this. You don't have to do the ceremony every time at that same building. You don't. I understand that. Unless you stop doing it during WrestleMania weekend, which we all know you're not. But also what makes it not a real Hall of Fame is they just pick people at random. And then they have the celebrity wing, which they don't need. For God's sakes, they don't need. They don't need celebrities in a WWE Hall of Fame that's supposed to be for professional wrestlers that have worked in the wrestling business. It's not necessary. But anyway, that's the end of my video today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Whether you agree or disagree with me, put it in the comments. I want to read some comments. So definitely comment, like, subscribe, share out the video, and I will see you next time. One more thing, by the way, before I go. If you have any news stories in professional wrestling or WWE or stuff that's on the network you want me to review, let me know in the comments. But anyway, y'all have a nice day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.